a Black Hawk helicopter and a Bell 340 currently in France. The arrangements with France are that they will be returned in time for our season.
So, Joe, still some concerns about it potentially becoming harder to share resources as bushfire seasons worsen across the world. But the warning today from fire authorities is for Australians not to be complacent this year and start preparing their bushfire plans early.
OK, Romy Stevens there in Canberra. And some of Europe's most important rivers are looking a lot different than usual. Water levels on the Rhine, the Po through northern Italy and parts of the Danube have fallen sharply, creating challenges for shipping, agriculture and industry. Deutsche Welle correspondent Thomas Sparrow joins us now from Berlin. Thomas, g'day. So what are you seeing there and how unusual are these low water levels?
It is quite extraordinary what we're seeing here in some of Europe's biggest and most important rivers. Just imagine the Rhine, which is Germany's longest, one of Germany's most important rivers. And in part of that, cargo ships can no longer transit and people can go from one side of the river to the next in parts where you would otherwise have a lot of water. So it's obviously a matter that is causing a lot of concern. And it's not only the Rhine, it's also the Danube, another very significant river in Europe. It's the Po in Italy. So rivers that normally play a very significant role in Europe's economies, also in the ecosystems, are now being affected by these very long, dry summers. It is something that is a matter of concern, obviously, for people who deal with the ecology, who deal with ecosystems, but also who deal with the economy, because having rivers that are running dry, where the water levels are not what they're supposed to be, that has a major impact on the economy in this part of the world. So what you're seeing is certainly a situation that is a matter of concern. Experts, however, have stressed that this is not something definitely unusual. It is something that European leaders and European populations should actually start to get used to, because Europe is seeing drier and drier summers. Europe is seeing seasons that are more intense, that are lasting longer, that are starting earlier. So having dry rivers is something that European authorities will have to deal with also in the medium to long term.
And who's feeling the impact most right now?
Obviously, the ecosystems, underwater ecosystems, are particularly affected. Farmers as well that are affected by the drought, by this very dry summer in parts of Europe, including obviously Germany. Then the different companies that normally transport their goods, their raw materials, for example, via these very important waterways. We're talking here about oil, about other materials as well. So they are particularly affected. They have had to shift some of their transport to road transport or rail freight transport as well, and that's why there have been meetings also with authorities to help that transition, let's say, from the waterways to other transportation methods. And then there's the potential economic impact, because important organizations here in Germany have stressed that if this is something that lasts a long time, if the major waterways are dry for a lengthy period, particularly affected, they have had to shift some of their transport to road transport or rail freight transport as well. And that's why there have been meetings also with authorities to help that transition, let's say, from the waterways to other transportation methods. And then there's the potential economic impact, because important organizations here in Germany have stressed that if this is something that lasts a long time, if the major waterways are dry for a lengthy period, years, that is affected also in terms of infrastructure, in terms of productivity. So it is not good news for economists. It's not good news also for the German government as they try to improve Germany's economy.
And so how are authorities dealing with the situation?
Especially with a mixture of immediate measures and also medium to long-term measures. The immediate measures are trying to help the communities that are mostly affected, also the organizations that are mostly affected. So if you are talking about these shipping companies, the authorities working with these shipping companies to ensure that they can transport their goods. As I stressed, these waterways are particularly important not only in Germany, but also to connect different European countries. So when we're looking at the Rhine, when we're looking at the Danube, they are not only significant for one country, but for several countries. And as such, this is turning into a European-wide phenomenon, which also requires European-wide answers. And this is why also experts are stressing that this is something that has to be focused on for a medium to long-term approach. So also thinking about building ships that could navigate through lower waters, so that could be also possible when there is a drought or a very dry season. Also making some of the riverbeds deeper. This is something that is very controversial from an economic perspective, also from an ecological perspective. And then there's the discussion about obviously prevention and making sure that communities can be more resilient when these kinds of situations come. It's not an easy challenge, it's not an easy phenomenon, but it's one that, at least from a European perspective, needs to be tackled now and needs to be tackled also in the coming years.
OK, Thomas Sparrow there in Berlin. A quick look at tomorrow's weather now in the capital cities around the nation. Brisbane a shower or two, Sydney partly cloudy, top at 23.